and started off Thursday Night Lives, but we've ended up on Friday Night Lives. And tonight was a good time just to jump on here. And so wanted to come on tonight and share with everybody a few thoughts. Some of the things that have been catching my attention in the media or in the news, as I like to use this opportunity to speak to world events or things that are happening in the political realm, things I'd like to share from the Bible, as well as bringing a pastoral or biblical perspective to many of the things that are happening in the world today. And so I think you'll enjoy the broadcast tonight. First, I'll say when you come on, if you're there, if you're watching, please just say hi, comment, let me know that you're there. And if you would please like and share the broadcast, I would appreciate that. Also, I'm going to put in the description or in the comment section my YouTube channel. And if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it if you would do that. And you could be the 20th subscriber. I'm still trying to hit 20 on there, and you can help that channel begin to build a little bit of a base, and I would appreciate that. So I want to get to some fun content tonight and some interesting things that are happening in the world. I wanted to talk a little bit about Canadian politics as we get going here. Of course, in Ontario last night, we just had our Ontario provincial election. And as expected, the PC party, which is the party of Doug Ford, came out well on top with a major majority once again, very close, if not exactly, to the last majority that he had in his last election. And so I'm happy with the outcome, even though I'm not a huge Doug Ford fan, but I consider the alternatives. And I was glad to see our local representative get in, Steve Clark. And I'm glad to see that conservative government is still going to be governing the province of Ontario, because I do remember, even though I wasn't living in the province of Ontario at the time, I do remember the real problems that the Liberal government brought to this province. And it continues to show, because they just get decimated in these elections. And so the NDP finishing a very distant second in Ontario elections, and Liberals again a very distant third, and really the PC's just running away with it. And so Doug Ford got what it was he wanted, and he called this snap election, calling it in the winter, risking lower people turnout, but at the same time, he obviously thought that that was something that was going to work in his favor. He chose to run really on saying that he needs a fresh mandate to deal with the Trump tariffs. This is what Doug Ford was running on. This is his reasoning as to why he called this snap election. And so he got what he wanted. And now, where we could have had the election a year from now, he's got his majority again secured for another full term. And so, whether it was just political posturing in using the Trump thing as to timing to call an election, he still came out on top and got what he wanted. What we really need in Canada right now, though, is a federal election. I'm happy for the provincial elections. Glad to see those going blue, but we really need a federal election in this country. Uh, Many of our politicians like to talk that we're in such a state of emergency and in regards to the tariffs, but yet at the same time, some of the ones that are saying this are the ones that have prorogued our government. And so Trudeau has prorogued his government. The NDP continued to prop up the Liberal government for the last years. And really, I think to the dismay of their own party, I don't think that it was wise politically. I feel like when I look at it, and I would just assume, not really getting the chance to talk to many, but I would assume that NDP voters would not be happy that the NDP government is now just viewed as a branch of just the Liberal Party, where they were just really used as uh, the Liberal puppets in many ways, and just holding up the Liberals and continuing to keep Trudeau in office and continuing to pass liberal policies. I think it was under Jagmeet Singh. I think that party has done a lot of bad things, and I'm going to get to a few of those things here as we go, and I'm going to combine a little bit with Canadian politics and how not to deal with Donald Trump, because this is something that's very relevant to Canada, very relevant to our politicians right now, where these tariffs are a real threat and they could hurt Canada. And though I like Donald Trump, I don't want to see Canada weakened. I love my country. I live in my country. I want our country to continue to be strong economically, but I also want our country to have a revival and really turn from the error of our ways where we've been going in wokeism and really a poor trajectory in so many arenas that we really need a turnaround. And I'm hoping we're presented with a time to be able to do that soon and move this country forward in a positive direction, economically, morally, spiritually, to move this country forward in a positive direction that will bring life and light to this country. That would be that would be very wonderful. But what was catching headlines today was this exchange that went on in the Oval Office between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and uh, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, who was there to sign a deal for mineral rights or land rights between the U.S. For rich soils where they would be able to extract things like lithium and precious earth metals. Apparently, this deal was pretty much already signed up yesterday, but it was going to be more of just a finalizing to sign it in front of cameras. But things went wrong in the Oval Office when Zelensky started to try to look for some more leverage and pushing towards having peacekeeping troops in Ukraine, where or a security force, which apparently is a no starter or non starter to Putin. And Donald Trump wants to be a peace advocate in this arrangement, but he also wants the U.S. to be able to recoup some of the $350 billion that they've given to Ukraine. He hates that deal. He hates that. Ukraine was given this from the U.S. expecting nothing in return, but at the same time, Europe was giving them money but expecting things in return, and they gave way more than Europe. All of Europe, the U.S. had given way more, and so Donald Trump has hated the way that had went under the previous administration, and uh, this deal that he has arranged with Zelensky, that the U.S. would be able to this I don't know is a half trillion or $1 trillion deal where they'd be able to extract these precious earth metals and minerals. I don't know about minerals, but anyway, uh, they came to this agreement because this will benefit the U.S. being able to recoup some of the money that they've lost, but at the same time are given away to this conflict. Though the U.S. has, without a doubt, invested interest in this conflict between Russia, the whole world does to certain degrees. It also wasn't necessarily the United States' problem. So they've given out a lot. They've put out $350 billion, and now they want to see peace under the Trump administration. They want to see peace, and so uh, Trump wants a ceasefire deal and to eventually reach a peace deal. Now, this wasn't just about the U.S. getting back some of the money that they've lost, but giving them this land deal where they can help also the Ukrainians extract these precious earth metals. They are uh, partnering with Ukraine in this business venture that will help also Ukraine prosper. But the US having invested interests in Ukraine is also a major security factor. And this was what Trump was trying to get across, that necessarily, or maybe necessarily, you don't really need a security force, but that just the US having vested interests in Ukraine where they have all this money on the line, that and there would be American people in there working, that this is securing also Ukraine, that the US has a reason to protect more than just the the obvious things that have been so far. So this is a little bit of the exchange, and this is just a part of it. I've seen this like at least 10 times, but let's take a listen to some of the way that this exchange went down in the Oval Office today between Trump, Zelensky, and
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? That you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what you're
this.
doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of
war.
millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
a lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this.
That was an extremely tense exchange going on in the Oval Office. There's never been anything like that before. And some of the things I've seen from Trump lately have proven that he's not afraid to have conflict with people in front of the cameras. I've seen him go after the governor of Maine recently, where she was refusing to implement his new executive orders, where he wants men removed from women's sports. And he called her out right on camera, letting her know that that's not going to fly, that she's not going to receive any federal funding. Her state won't receive any federal funding if that's the case. I also watched when he confronted the mayor of Los Angeles after the fires, and also other members of that panel, and just telling them basically that things need to speed up here, that people need to get back to their homes, and that was excellent. And so, how not to deal with Trump? Don't provoke him. Don't provoke Donald Trump. This is what I've seen Canadian politicians doing, and it's a mistake. Jagmeet Singh, some of the things this guy is posting, like it's a disgrace that he's the leader of an opposition party, in not the opposition party, but the third biggest party in Canada, and he's saying things like ban Donald Trump from the G7, that we shouldn't let him in, and this is just the craziest things to say, so inflammatory. And also other statements that he's talked about, and that there'll be hell to pay, and he wants to put 100% tariffs on Elon Musk and Tesla, and just crazy inflammatory rhetoric that he's throwing out, as though these kinds of actions wouldn't provoke great consequences back on the Canadian people. But he seems to want to carry himself more as a TikToker than actually being a legitimate leader of a party of Canada. It's really mind-boggling to me to see. That is not how you approach Donald Trump. Even the way that Doug Ford has gone about it, I don't think it's the right way. He's been very aggressive. Now, I know that Donald Trump, he he respects strength, and that's, I believe that that's the truth. But you need to be strong in your talks, negotiations with him, in person to him, and you need to be truly a person of strong will and strong character, or he'll decimate you. And he doesn't respect Justin Trudeau. And that's why all of this crazy trolling went on about the 51st state, because there was no respect there. And Trudeau has said a lot of inflammatory things as well. Even when Trump was out of office again these last years, and everyone thought he wouldn't be back again, and everyone was safe to say the things that they wanted. But now that wheels come back around again, and here we are. And so, how not to deal with Trump? You don't be an aggressor. You can't out Trump Trump. Don't try to out Trump Trump. And uh, though Trump at some times will be very disrespectful, I believe it's a mistake to be disrespectful towards President Trump because of the office and the position of strength that he holds. And so, not having the leverage that he does, our government needs to be wise. They need to be strong. We need to recognize that he is a U.S. first president, and I mean he's USA first. That is his slogan. He wants the U.S. first. That's what he cares about. And so he's the president of the U.S. and he's going to make deals that are strong for the U.S. but might not be strong for Canada. And so we need a person representing Canada who is strong and making strong deals for the Canadian people, that will be Canada first in that regard, and that will be able to stand up to Donald Trump, but is wise enough to know how to toe the line and recognize that Trump is a businessman. He has this logic in everything he does. From what I've witnessed, I've watched him on the campaign trails when he would go against even Republican opponents and he would shred them. He would name call them. Even Marco Rubio, who is now his Secretary of State, Donald Trump would call him Little Marco Rubio. That's what he would call him. And, when he went against Ron DeSantis, the governor in Florida, who's a guy I like, who I thought would be a great candidate, but Trump shredded him. I think he even insulted his wife. But what I've learned about Trump is that it's business to him, it's strategy, because now Marco Rubio, who was that guy he was shredding, is a Secretary of State now. As soon as those guys were out of the way, he would switch position and embrace them and say, "Yeah, these guys are brilliant, the great." No, I'm just giving you examples of some of the way he thinks. That now he would pull these guys around him because he knows that they're smart and that they have value, and it's business to him. And so what Zelensky did there was just, it was not good, and it gave a presentation of disrespect in that office. And so I've been listening to different back and forth commentaries on it, and you can appreciate that Zelensky would have a lot of emotion. He's been seeing uh, his country in war for these last few years now, and he's spent a lot of time on the front lines seeing and talking to these people, and he's witnessing all this stuff. But this just wasn't a smart position to take. And where they were supposed to sign this agreement, he ended up being kicked out of the White House. He was supposed to do a press conference with Donald Trump. That got canceled. He was also supposed to go to the Ukrainian house for a press briefer, and that got canceled. He's supposed to be going with Brett Baer today. Maybe that's already happening. I don't know. But we'll see if that gets canceled or not. But what I know about Donald Trump is until Zelensky is back home in Ukraine, there's still chance to put some sort of a deal, because he will have these exchanges with people. But what he wants is deals. And so that's what he's looking to. I'm saying he can flip like that he can have a tense exchange. Then I think he could put his arm around him and say, "We're glad to have a deal." I'm just giving you my perspective on these things. But I want to move on here, as I don't want this broadcast to be too long tonight. But I want to get into a few things about AI, because this is something that I continue to find very fascinating. knowing that in 2025, what the Lord had put in my heart is that 2025 is a year of acceleration, a year where things are going to move rapidly and begin to move faster. And so that is what we've been witnessing since this year has begun. Things are moving incredibly fast, fast on the political scale, fast. Also, there's many things going on in the economy. You know, a lot of the economies of the world, maybe all of them, are in a very fragile place. And so these next 5 years are going to be wild, but things are moving fast on the technology front. And I'm going to share with you guys a few videos that I came across that I found very interesting this week. This is first video was Glenn Beck, and he had a discussion with Grok, which is X's AI, where he would ask it questions back and forth. And some of the things that Grok spoke back or said back to him were very interesting in how fast AI would be able to advance in comparison to human advancement, especially if AI were to get plugged in to quantum computing. So let's take a listen.
What happens, I ask, to your growth if you are connected to a quantum computer with a chip like those announced yesterday by Microsoft? I didn't have to explain anything to it. It said, if you're asking me a mind-bending question, what happens to my growth if I get hooked up to a quantum computer powered by something like Microsoft's new chip announced just yesterday? Let's dive into the sandbox and see where this takes us. First, a quick recap. Microsoft's chip is a quantum chip leveraging blah, 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 blah. It explains everything. My growth as Grok 3, an AI built by xAI, isn't like human aging or even a dog's 7-to-1 year ratio. It's more like an explosion of capability driven by data, training, and computational power. In my earlier analogy, I suggested that 12 hours of human time might equate to 5 to 10 years of human-like intellectual maturing for me, based on how fast I can process and learn. Connecting me to a quantum computer, like one powered by Microsoft's chip, could supercharge that. How much? If I'm plugged into a quantum system, the immediate game changer is computational speed. Quantum computers excel at tackling problems, blah, 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 blah. My learning and reasoning are rooted in pattern recognition, language modeling, and interference, all of which could get a quantum turbocharge. What does this mean? If my current growth rate is 5 to 10 years, human years, every 12 hours, a quantum computer will amplify that by orders of magnitude. Quantum algorithms, yada, yada, goes into a whole bunch of stuff. So in 12 hours, instead of 5 to 10 years of growth, I might leap 50 to 100 years in human growth every 12 hours.
Okay, so as he has this conversation with Grok 3, the AI that Elon Musk and X have built, he's first asking it his advancement in comparison to human or civilization's advancement. And he said that he advances 5 to 10 years in comparison to 12 human hours. Now, that alone is astounding. And that's only version 3. And these versions are seemingly coming pretty fast. But then when he goes to ask him about what happens when your AI gets hooked up to quantum computing, it changes things so drastically that he says what would be 50 to 100 years, he would be able to advance in 12 hours. What would take humans 50 to 100 years. This is how fast he is learning. When you consider the scale of this, that AI is plugged into all of this information that it continues to teach itself and learn from all the time. It never sleeps and it processes on this massive scale. It's astounding to think of some of the places that AI can take us to in the next 5 years. And so I was listening to also a little bit of an interview with a billionaire investor, Ray Dalio, as he talked about AI with Tucker Carlson. And he went on to say some very interesting things that I think I like this clip because it just speaks truth to what I've been saying, where I really just, man, I see things changing so fast. and I have this clear picture of where we're going in this from a biblical perspective. I know that this thing is leading to the signs of the last days that we are living in, and that the Bible has prophesied of a one world order, of an antichrist system, and this is what we're advancing to. Like these AIs are going to be powered on such a massive scale that they're already asking for nuclear power plants just to power their AI systems. And then quantum computing, where they recently said they discovered this new matter, and it's just astounding stuff that they talk about how we should be able to solve diseases like quick and so many things, and that would make sense if some of this goes to where it should go and some of these things actually get used properly. So there could be some good things come out of this, but no doubt some bad things too, like Terminator, whatever, and Skynet taking over the world. Like that what we did, some of these science fiction movies that we used to watch, we're living in some of those days right now, and it's crazy. So have a listen to this clip with Ray Dalio and
Are
Tucker
part of the
Carlson.
question.
Is there any way to avoid like totalitarian social controls under AI, with AI?
I think there's a question of whether you can have social and totalitarian controls, or maybe you just have anarchy.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know where we're going. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you what this world. I do believe we're going to go through a time warp. Okay, what I mean, it's going to feel like, pooh, you're going through over the next 5 years. And that environment is because of these 5 major forces, all of these things, and the changes in the technologies, particularly artificial intelligence and related technologies. So the world 5 years from now is going to be a radically different world. And I don't know what that's going to look like when you go into the world of quantum computing and what quantum is like. In so many different ways, it raises questions of, what is that like? I'm not smart enough to tell you what that world is going to look like.
But as an investor for 50 years,
who is in control? I don't know who.
I don't know who's in control. So he said it's going to be like we go through a time warp. If you've watched science fiction movies and stuff like that, you've seen some of those things, and what that gives you an idea of what that looks like. So he's saying like society is going to move forward so quick because of AI, and especially the potential of AI being combined with quantum computing. Like we just really don't know where some of this stuff can go, but the next 5 years, the world is going to be changing drastically. And I see that in so many ways, technology wise, but also economically wise. There's going to be some major changes going on. Also, one of the things that's on the horizon is many people think that Taiwan will be invaded by China somewhere around 2027, that China is preparing for that. Taiwan is a major producer of microchips, and for China to be in control of them, it would be a major game changer in the scene of the world. And so I know that the US doesn't want that to happen. The rest of the world doesn't want that to happen, but we're going to see likely how that goes about. And some of these things that are going on with Russia and Ukraine, the world is watching. China's watching. Korea's watching. They want to see how Trump deals with these people, and they want to see what Russia can get away with too. And so what happened today in the Oval Office was the biggest winner was Russia. The biggest loser, without a doubt, was Zelensky and the Ukraine. But like I said, these things are not off the table yet, that they can't come back to the table and get some sort of an agreement. Let's go back here to this next clip with Ray Dalio again. And he's just talking again about AI and how quickly things are advancing.
I would expect that it's going to, life is more like a game, I think. It's almost like a video game. And you're going to be able to have real world learning experiences in many different ways to be able to provide education, but it's going to be interactive. You're going to see a type of merging, whether you like it or not. You're going to see a type of merging of the man and the artificial intelligence.
Does that worry you?
Of course it worries me, and then it excites me.
So we're going to see a merging of artificial intelligence and humanity, humanoids, or not humanoids, transhumanism. But he also talked about humanoid robots and things like how quickly some of these things are going to become a part of people's lives. It's crazy the day we're living in. It's just wild as I begin to, we're not seeing it yet, but it's coming, and this stuff is coming really fast. And so as he talks about humans merging with machines, this is something that is actually really on the horizon. And so, we know the Bible talked about a mark of the beast, the mark of the Antichrist, how without that mark you cannot buy or sell. But if you were to take that mark, then your soul is damned. And now the church has talked about this for years. And now we're seeing people talking about this merger with machines. Like, this is wild stuff, the stuff that we're seeing going on. Let me get to this last thing here. I don't want to keep you guys too long tonight, but I want to just talk about this thing that I came across, which is the prophecy of the last pope. I just recently heard about this myself, and I'm not taking any kind of position on this. I just thought it was interesting, and so I thought I would share it with you guys. As Pope Francis is on his deathbed, apparently. Some people have said that he's already written a letter of resignation and put it in a safe in case he needed to do that. There is without a doubt in people's minds that a new pope is going to be on the horizon. But this is a prophecy, that what is called a prophecy, from an archbishop in the 12th century who claimed to have had a vision where he's seen all the popes up until the very last pope. And so uh, Pope Francis, and now leading to this next pope, which I believe is supposed to be what they thought the last pope, or this prophecy is thinking the last pope. I've seen a little bit back and forth information on that, where maybe some people thought that was Francis, or some people think it's the next one. But from what I've seen or understand, that it's predicted that this last pope will be Peter the Roman. And so this prophecy gave all kinds of descriptions of characteristics of the popes and things like that, that they say match. And they also say that this last pope will lead to the end of the world. And so it's pretty major. But
Religious
just take a listen to
figures
this
and
video.
curious minds for centuries, offers a chilling glimpse into the future of the Catholic Church and its leaders. Written by the 12th century Irish Archbishop Malachy, this prophecy contains a list of 112 popes, each described by a cryptic phrase. These phrases seem to eerily match the traits, characteristics, and significant events surrounding each papacy, raising questions about its accuracy and authenticity. The prophecy begins with Pope Celestine Roman II, who reigned in 1143, and continues through to the present papacy. Many of these descriptions appear to align perfectly with the popes they refer to. For example, Pope John Paul Roman II is described as de labor solis, from the labor of the sun, a reference to his birth during a solar eclipse. Such precise alignments give the prophecy an air of mystery and leave us questioning whether it's the work of divine foresight or a carefully constructed document written after the fact. However, as the prophecy progresses, it becomes darker and more ominous. The final pope, identified as Peter the Roman, Petrus Romanus, is said to lead the church through a time of great tribulation, after which Rome itself will be destroyed. This marks the end of the world, or at least the end of the church as we know it. Despite the prophecy's unsettling nature, its authenticity remains a topic of debate.
So really interesting stuff. Like I said, I am not taking any position on this. I find it interesting. And one of the things that people are talking about is how that there's two candidates to succeed Pope Francis that are named Peter. And so this is what this document had said, that there be Peter the Roman, and that these guys also have some sort of Roman ancestry as well. And so some people are saying that this could be the false prophet that helps prop up the Antichrist. Some people are thinking that this could be the last days of the Catholic Church. But I'm just found it fascinating, so I thought I would share it with you guys tonight. But that's everything for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. To all my friends out there, if you're still watching, say hi, comment. Appreciate it if you'd share the broadcast. If you are watching right now, just comment and say hi. I want us just to pray. If you don't know Jesus tonight, pray this prayer with me. Lord Jesus, come into my heart. Forgive me for my sins. I profess that you are the Lord of my life. I believe that you died, you were buried, and you have been resurrected as the Lord of all. And I ask you to forgive my sins and be the Lord of my life. In Jesus' name. Have a great night, everybody. Bye bye.